ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतो वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। द्वितीय मुण्डकस्य द्वितीयखण्डस्य तृतीय मन्त्रः। धनुर्गृहीत्वोपनिषदं महास्त्रम्
धनुर्गृहीत्वोपनिषदं महास्त्रम्
शरं ह्युपासा निशितं सन्धयीत
शरं
आगम्य तद्भावगतेन चेतसा लक्ष्यं तदेवाक्षरं सौम्य विद्धि। प्रणवो धनुष्यरो ह्यात्मा ब्रह्म तल्लक्ष्यमुच्यते। अप्रमत्तेन वेद्धव्यम् शरवत्तन्मयो भवेत्।
शरवतन्मयो
शरवतन्मयो
भवेत्
भवेत्
प्रणवः धनुः अस्यते क्षिप्यते अस्मात् शरः इति धनुः धनुः the bow which is प्रणवः धनुर् गृहीत्वा प्रणवं गृहीत्वा औपनिषदं महास्त्रं प्रणवं गृहीत्वा तस्मिन् शरं शरः आत्मा सन्दहीत and that atma jivatma the antakaranam is upasanaya tikshnikritam antakaranam stapayitva ayamya tadbhavagatena chetasa lakshyam brahma eva laksham brahma aksharam tadeva laksham apramattena vedhavyam jnatavyam. The Brahma, which is the Lakshya, and the Jivatma has to know, has to pierce, has to become one with the target. It means has to become Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet, Brahmamayaha Bhavet. Already Brahmamaya is not different from Brahma. So therefore knowing, Vedhavyam is Jnatavyam. In the case of Drishtanta, Lakshyam and Sharaha, they are different, two different things. That is Dvaitam. In the case of Drashtanta, Jivatma is one with Paramatma. Jivatma, Sharaha, comparable to Sharaha, and Lakshyam, which is Brahma, that is one Aikyam. Aikyam is Satyam. Aikyam is Satyam. Therefore, Sharavat, like a Shara, like an arrow, it becomes one with the target. Sharavat Tanmayaha, Brahmamayaha, Lakshya-mayaha, Akshara-mayaha Bhavet. It is already one with Brahma. Therefore, Vedhavyam is equal to Jnatavyam. There cannot be any other meaning for Vedhavyam. Because already one. It is one. It is not going to become one. Already one. So it is not two before, which becomes one because of the Omkara Vichara. Already one. The oneness is discovered by Upanishadam Mahastram, that is Omkara Vichara Pranavaha. Therefore, Vedhavyam is Jnatavyam, therefore Jnanam. There is no karma here. Tanmayo Bhavet, Chinmayaha Bhavet, Satchit Anandamayaha Bhavet. So Tanmayaha becomes one with Maya. That Maya, the Mayat Pratyaya, Prachuryate, Vikararte, Swaruparte, on these meanings it is used. Swaruparte only in Vedanta. In all other places, Mayat Pratyaya, it is used in Prachuryate, Vikararte, like Annamaya Koshaha, Pranamaya Koshaha, Annamaya Koshaha, that is this physical body. It is the modification of the Annam, the food which is consumed, that alone becomes the Stula Shariram, the Annamaya Koshaha. Whatever Idli, Sambar, whatever we consume, that alone has become this Annamaya Kosha. Therefore, Vikararte Mayat Pratyaha. Jalamayam, full of water. Ganga Sagaraha, Jalamayaha. It is Prachuryarthi, it is abundant. Whereas here, Tanmayaha, Tanmayaha is Swaruparte. Swarupatvat. Swarupatvat. Brahma is the Swarupam of Jivatma. Therefore, Vedhavyam is Jnatavyam. Because Jnatavyam, because knowledge is involved, therefore, Apramattena, there should be diligence, there should be alertness. Therefore, one has to do the vichara and always be alert. Alert means lead an alert life so that you will not miss the lakshyam. In every transaction, one has to see the swarupa of the karta. Otherwise, kartrutvam becomes real. Kartrutvam is mithya. Bhoktrutvam is mithya. Karta is Brahma. Therefore, kartrutvam is mithya. The swarupam of karta is Brahma. Even the swarupam of jnata also. Jnat is pramatuhu, pramata, the knower. Knower is Brahma. Knower also, the knowing also is attributed to the person. He is neither the knower nor the known. He is that. With regard to knowing action, he becomes a knower. That also becomes mithya, because it's the Brahma is its swarupam. If that is swarupam, what he can know and what is the object available to be known. Dharmarpanam Brahma Adhihiyeva. So therefore here, the beautiful the mantra, through the example of archery, Aikyam is present, Jiveshwara Aikyam. Jivatma Paramatmanaha na bhinnaha. Jagat Karanam Brahma Jivaha Eva. As though they are two, seems to be. As though they are two, but it is Ekam Eva, Aikyam Eva, Tayoho Abedaha. Jiveshwarayoho Abedaha. That Abedaktam is what is denoted by the word Tanmayaha Bhavet. Tanmayaha is Abhedaha Advaitam Ityartaha. Therefore, Vedhavyam Jnatavyam iti. So, Pranavaha Prakarshena Noyate Stuyate iti. Pranavaha is Atma or Ishtadevata, but here it is Atma. And Dhanuhu, that is a bow. What does the bow does? Dhanuhu Asyate Kshipyate Asmat Sharaha iti Dhanuhu. That from which Sharaha, the arrow, is released. That is Dhanu. Similarly, this Pranavaha, by which Jivatma is released into the Lakshya, the Brahma, by which it becomes one. Not becomes one. It discovers the oneness. It discovers the oneness. Oneness of Jiva, that is Jiva Swarupa and Ishvara Swarupa. It is one iti. He knows. So therefore, Dhanur Girgitva, holding the Dhanu, the Grahanam, having taken the Dhanuhu, that is taking up the Shastram, taking up the Pranava Vichara, Shastra Vichara. That is Shravana Manana Nididhyasanena Ityartaha. That is Girgitva. Dhanur Girgitva, having taken up the bow. The bow is the Mahastram, Upanishad Mahastram, which is Onkaraha, Pranavaha. Having taken, how do you take Pranava? That is Pranava Vichara, Onkara Vichara. Onkara Vicharena. Onkara Vichara is, that is Shastra Vichara. Shastram presents Aikyam through the Vichara, the Onkara Vichara. Like as it is presented in Mundaka Upanishad. Onkara Vichara. Therefore, as Onkara is presented by the Shastram, therefore, Upanishadam, that which is revealed by the Shastram, that is presented by the Shastram, this Mahastram, that is Omkaraha, having holding onto it, that is Vichara, Omkara Vicharena, this Jivatma should be understood to be one with Paramatma. It is already one. Therefore, Vichara by inquiry, one has to know. After inquiry, nothing to be done. There is no kartavyam karma. Since only knowing is involved, therefore, jnatavyam, vedavyam, by that becomes one. After that, what is to be done? Nothing to be done. Knowing, knowledge, there it stops. Knowledge brings an end to the samsara. Since knowledge, because knowledge, that is why Vedanta. Vedanam antaha, it is knowledge, there it ends. There samsara ends, puts an end to the samsara. Removes the ajnanam, removes all the bhranti. Therefore, one becomes free from shoka moha. Atmavit shokam tarati, by which Atmavit crosses over the ocean of samsara. So therefore, by knowing, by knowledge, it discovers, the Jivatma discovers one with Brahma, which is a Lakshyam. Therefore, Vicharaha kartavyaha athato Brahma jigyasa kartavya iti sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari pramata, as we saw in Vedanta Sara, adita, vidivat adita, adhigata sakala vedhartaha, nikila vedhartaha, asmin janmani janmantareva, अस्मिन् जन्मनि जन्मान्तरे वा काम्य निषिद्ध कर्म वर्जन पुरस्सरं नित्य नैमित्तिक प्रायश्चित्त उपासनानुष्ठानेन नितान्त निर्मल स्वान्तः निखिल निर्गत कल्मषतया नितान्त निर्मल स्वान्तः साधन चतुष्टय संपन्नः प्रमाता अधिकारी, that is Jivatma, who has gained antakarna shuddhi by the performance of Nitya Naimittika Karma, who has gained the Chitta Naischalyam, that is what is denoted by the word Upasana Nishitam, sharpened by Upasana. Upasana is alone enough. Upasana is for Chitta Naischalyam and for Chitta Shuddhi, Karma Yoga. Both are to be understood. Upasana Nishitam is the preparedness on the part of the Adhikari. That is Sharaha, the Atma, is talked about. Upasana Nishitam, Upasanaya Tikshni Kritam, Chitta Naischalyam. And that is preceded by Karma Yoga, by which Nitanta Nirmala Swantaha Antakarnaha Adhikari Pramata, Sakaiva Adhikari Pramata, let him take up the Brahma Vichara, the Pranava Vichara, by which he gains the knowledge that Brahma is not different from me. Tanmayaha Bhavet. Bhavet is Vidiling. The Ling Lakara, Ling Lot Lakara, used when something to be done. Here there is no Bhavet. It is the Ling Artha is in the Veda, the Ling Lot are used when there is an injunction of the Veda, when there is an injunction to be done. When there is an injunction of Veda that the karma to be done, then only the ling lot is used. Satyam Vadha, Dharmam Chara, Vada Chara, iti ling lot. Here Bhavet, may it become one, may the Jivatma become one with Paramatma. That meaning is possible. It is not Bhavet means here the Upanishad uses the word Bhavet, but Bhavet is equal to Bhavati. It is always. So Bhavet is equal to Bhavati. It is Bhavati. Bhavati also doesn't mean becoming. It is Bhavati is, it is always. The Jivatma recognizes himself to be Brahma, that is the Lakshya Aksharam iti. That is why we translate the word Bhavati as recognizes, in the context of Vedanta, Jivatma recognizes himself to be Brahma. Discovery, Bhavati, recognizes, in the meaning of discovery, recognizing, we use the word Bhavati. So Bhavet is equal to Bhavati, Bhavati is equal to discovery. So discovery is, it is already Siddha Vishaya. You don't discover anything which is something totally unknown. Discovery means, the word discovery itself implies that something is already existing. Something which doesn't exist, then you find out it is invention. That's the difference between discovery and invention. Here it is discovering. You remove the cover, you remove the ajnana, which is the malam only, the ajnana malam only is a cover, is a thin line which prevents or which makes the Jivatma think as though it's separate from Paramatma. The thin line of ajnana. So you pierce that, you remove that. That is what Bhavanam Bhavati, Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet iti. So we discussed these two mantra elaborately, and also we started reading the Bhashyam for the mantra, fourth mantra. We will continue the Bhashyam. Pranavaha Omkaraha
प्रणवः ओङ्कारः
Dhanuhu
धनुः
Yata Ishvasanam
यथा
श्वसनम्
Lakshe Sharasya Pravesha Karanam
लक्ष्ये
लक्ष्ये शरस्य प्रवेशकारणम्
Tatha
तथा
Atmasharasya
आत्मशरस्य
Akshare Lakshe Pravesha Karanam Omkaraha
अक्षरे
अक्षरे लक्ष्ये प्रवेशकारणम् ओङ्कारः
Yata Pravesha Karanam Bhavati Lakshye, what Sharaha Sharasya Yata Dhanuhu Pravesha Karanam Bhavati Sharasya Pravesha Karanam, that which becomes the Karanam, the reason, the means, the nimittam for entry into the Lakshya. Lakshye Pravesha Karanam of what? Sharasya, of the arrow. Lakshye Pravesha Karanam Bhavati, what? Dhanuhu. Yatha Dhanuhu, as the bow becomes the cause of entry of the Shara into the Lakshya. Dhanuhu, which is Ishvasanam, another word. Ishoho Asanam, Ishvasanam, the seat of the arrow, which is Dhanuhu. Yata Dhanuhu, Sharasya Pravesham Karanam Bhavati, Lakshye Tadvateva, Omkaraha, Pranavaha, Pravesha Karanam Bhavati, Kasya Atma Sharasya. The Atma, the Antakaranam, the Jivatma, who is comparable to Shara, who is comparable to Shara, for him to enter into the Lakshya. Here entry is one, becoming not becoming one, recognizing to be one. That is the entry. It is not physically entry. It is discovering the oneness. That is the entry. Discovering the oneness of Jivatma Paramatma is the Pravesha. So Omkaraha Pravesha Karanam Bhavati Atmasharasya Jivatmanaha Pravesha Karanam Bhavati, and the Lakshya is Akshara. Akshare Lakshye Pravesha Karanam Bhavati Omkaraha Omkar Vicharaha. Therefore we can compare. Therefore it deserves to be comparable. Therefore the comparison is deserved between the Pranava and the Dhanu, between the Shara and the Atma, between the Lakshya and the Brahma. This Upamana Upameya Sambandha is valid. Why it is comparable? That is the reason the Bhashyakara gives to the first line, which we saw. Then continuing, Pranavena hi
प्रणवेन देहि
अभ्यस्यमानेन
अभ्यस्यमानेन
संस्क्रियमाणः
संक्रियमाणः
तदालम्बनः
तदालम्बनः
अप्रतिबन्धेन अक्षरे
अप्रतिबन्धेन अक्षरे
अवतिष्ठते
अवतिष्ठते
संस्क्रियमाणः अभ्यस्यमानेन संस्क्रियमाणः संस्क्रियमाणः referring to Jivatma, adjective to Jivatma. Jivatma who is refined. Refined means how Jivatma is refined. That is Jivatma as the Jivatma or the Antakaranam. Jivatma is one who has the Antakaranam. So it can refer to Jivatma or it can refer to Antakaranam. That Sharaha, the Atma. Why we say? Because Atma being what it is, whether it is Jivatma and Paramatma, it is one. Why Jivatma? We say because he has the Antakaranam, he has the Antakaranam, the mind, where there is a notion that he is separate from Paramatma. Therefore, Jivatma. Therefore, we say Jivatma. Whether it is Atma of the Jiva or Atma of the Ishvara, Atma is Atma, Chaitanya Meva. There is no difference. There is no difference. There is no difference between Ghata Akasha and the external Akasha, the space. Space being one. Whether it is a space inside the pot or space outside the pot, there is no difference. When we say Ghata Akasha, as though the Akasha is confined by the Ghata, the pot. Similarly, Atma as though confined by the Upadhi of Jiva, and the Upadhi is Antakaranam. Antakaranam, in the Antakaranam only there is a notion that Aham Paramatmanaha Binnaha. Therefore only Jivatma, Atma, Antakaranam. Therefore Samskriyamanaha is Jivatma who is refined is, how Jivatma will be refined? The Antakaranam of the Jivatma only, Samskriyamanaha. Not, there is nothing to be refined. What is to be refined? The Jivatma has to take a bath to purify Janamaya Kosha or Pranamaya Kosha. Only this Manomaya Kosha, the mind alone, the Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha, the mind which is there in Sukshma Sharira, and the Sukshma Sharira comprises this Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. The Pranamaya also is not considered. It is the Manaha, the Antakaranam. That has to be refined. That has to be made ready. That has to be purified. That has to be conducive for inquiry into Brahma Vichara. That was Samskriyamanaha. Like we have the word Samskritam, which is refined. Similarly, the Jivatma is refined. Samskriyamanaha. In other words, Adhikari Jivaha. Adhikari. Adhikaritvam. This Adhikaritvam, we say Adhikaritvam, the status of being an Adhikari. That is, the person, the Jivatma has to discover that person in himself who is eligible or who is ready for the inquiry into Brahma Vichara, Omkara Vichara. That's why we use the word Adhikaritvam. Adhikaritvam is not something which is assembled. Adhikaritvam is not which is something assembled from other things. That is Adhikaritvam, that one has to discover that Adhikaritvam in oneself. As a person seeing a stone, huge rock or a stone, for him it's just a stone. He doesn't see anything in the stone. It is of irregular shape, just a stone, just a shila. Whereas for a sculptor, he sees Krishna in that, Lord Krishna in that stone. He sees Lord Buddha in the stone. He sees Dakshinamurti in the stone. So therefore the sculptor will chisel out and bring out Lord Buddha from the stone. Bring out Buddha, bring out Krishna, bring out Dakshinamurti. He could see that, and therefore he brings out. It is already there. What is required is you have to chisel out the unnecessary portion. Dakshinamurti or Buddha or Krishna is not something created out of the stone. It is there. It just chiseling the unnecessary, the parts which were covering that the devata, that is removed. That is what the sculptor does. That is what adhikaritam is. Therefore, a spiritual aspirant has to chisel out the sharp edges, sharp corners, and discovers oneself to be that person who is endowed with sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. That is called samskriyamanaha. Samskriyamanaha jivatmanaha tadalambanaha. Another word qualifying jivatma. Tadalambanaha. Tada alambanaha. Tadalambanaha. Tat alambanaha. Omkaraha alambanam. Omkaraha eva alambanam yasya jivasya saha jivaha tadalambanaha. Jivatma, who has got alambanam, who has alambanam is dependency. Alambanam. Who takes up the Omkara. Who takes up the Omkara for vichara. Omkara alambanam. Omkara can be taken as alambanam for upasana by the upasakas. It can be taken as alambanam for vichara by the jnanis. So tadalambanaha, alambanam. Alambanaha. Alambanam is napumsakalinga. Alambanaha. Therefore, it qualifies jivatma, jivaha. Omkaraha alambanam yasya jivaha. Omkara is the alambanam, is the basis, is a support which the jivatma takes up. Therefore, jivatma is referred to by the word alambanaha, tadalambanaha. Tat referring to Omkara. Omkaraha, pranavaha, tadeva alambanam yasya jivasya. Saha jivaha, tadalambanaha, samskriyamanaha, tadalambanaha, jivatma abhyasyamanena. By abhyasyamana, by repeated inquiry. Pranavena abhyasyamanena. By the repeated inquiry of the pranava, that is Omkara vicharena, samskriyamanaha, tadalambanaha, jivatma apratibandena, without any obstacle. He crosses over the obstacle, that ajnana obstacle, that is the mala, that is the obstacle. Pratibandena, apratibandena, akshare avatishtate. He avatishtate. Avatishtate, he remains the target. When the jivatma is released by Omkara vichara, released is when having done Omkara vichara, now the jivatma is short. It has becomes short is by the vichara. He moves towards, not physically, he moving is in terms of understanding. In terms of understanding, that is a moving, he moves and it's a target, which is Brahma, and recognizes him to be that, the target, that is Aksharam Brahma. Therefore, avatishtate. Therefore, he dwells in that, he remains in that. He remains in that jnanam avatishtate iti. So samskriyamanaha tadalambanaha jivatma akshare brahmani akshare avatishtate. That is jiva ishvara aikyam. The aikyam, the oneness, discovering him to be that. That is avatishtate. Avatishtate is avapurvaka stadhatu. Tishtati, dwells, stands. Avatishtate, remains. What is remaining here? That is discovering oneself to be one with that. That is avatishtati. So Jivatma avatishtati. Brahmani avatishtati. Iti. Yatha dhanusha
यथा
यथा
धनुषा
धनुषा
aste ishur lakshye.
आस्ते
आस्ते
ईशुर्लक्ष्ये
This I explained in two ways. Dhanusha aste or dhanusha staha astaha also we can take as aste because of dhanusha, because of the bow, ishuhu, the arrow, lakshye aste remains in the lakshyam, as the arrow remains in the lakshyam because of the bow. Similarly, the jivatma, who is comparable to ishuhu, that is sharaha, lakshye brahmani aste avatishtate iti. Therefore, there is a clear upamana upameya sambandha between dhanuhu and onkaraha, sharaha and atma, brahma, which is lakshya. After this, we saw already in the last class. Now we'll continue. Ataha
अतः
pranavaha dhanuhu iva dhanuhu.
प्रणवः
धनुः
Therefore, pranavaha dhanuhu. Here we have to see pranavaha dhanuhu. If you say pranavaha dhanuhu, then what will happen? The onkara is the dhanu, as though is onkara, which is revealed by the Shastram, onkara, Shabda Pratika, that is becomes Dhanuhu, that is Dhanuhu, not become, that is Dhanuhu. Dhanuhu is the bow, which is a weapon. Pranava is not the weapon. How can Pranava becomes a Dhanu? Therefore, Dhanuhu, Iva Dhanuhu. Iva Dhanuhu. Pranava is the arrow, is like the arrow, comparable to the arrow. That is what Pranavaha, Dhanuhu, Iva Dhanuhu. We say Chandramukhi. Chandramukhi, Chandra is moon, Mukha is face. Then Chandramukhi means, does the person has the face of the moon? How can the person have the face of the moon? The moon is so big, huge size. It has got craters all over. This person is small person, a human being having a small head. The moon is huge in size and it is lighted up by the sun. It has got so many other things, properties, where this person head is small and is made of flesh, blood, etc. How can you say this? The moon is the moon is a face. Chandramukhi, when we say Chandraha iva mukham yasya mukham tasya. He has the face like that of the moon, not that he has the moon as a face. That meaning we don't take, we understand. Chandramukhi means we understand. That is, he has got the face like that of the moon. Therefore, he is called she is called Chandramukhi. Chandraha iva mukham yasya ivam Chandraha iva mukham yasya yasyaha sa. The one who has the face like that of the moon is called Chandramukhi. Similarly, here also, Pranavaha Dhanuhu means we cannot take literally the Onkara to be the Dhanuhu, the bow. Onkara is Dhanuhu iva Dhanuhu. Dhanuhu iva Dhanuhu implies that Onkara can be comparable to Dhanu. The comparison, reason for comparison is what Bhashakara gave in the previous sentence. Yata Dhanusha aste ishugo yata Dhanusha ikshugo lakshya aste tadvat Onkarena Atma Sharaha Atma Brahmani lakshye avatishtate. Therefore, Pranavaha Dhanuhu iva Dhanuhu, comparable. The Upamana Upameya Sambandha is made, it's validated by Bhashakara. Now, next line. Sharaha I Atma Upadhilakshanaha
उपाधिलक्षणः
Para eva jale suryadivat
पर एव
एव
जले
जले सूर्यादिवत्
इह प्रविष्टः
इह
इह
प्रविष्टः
प्रविष्टः
देहे सर्वभूत प्रत्यय साक्षितया
देहे
सर्वभूत प्रत्यय साक्षितया.
Yes. Sharaha hi atma, that is there in the Moolam. Sharaha hi atma, jivatma is comparable to Sharaha here also. Yata pranavaha danuhu iva danuhu tadvati eva atma Sharaha iva Sharaha. Similarly, Lakshyam, that Aksharam, Lakshyam iva Lakshyam. It is applicable to all the components of the Upamana and Upameya. As it is for Dhanu, so it is for Sharaha, so it is for Lakshyam also. So therefore, Sharaha Atma, when we say, how can arrow be the Atma? Arrow cannot be the Atma. Because there is a Upamana Upameya Sambandha, therefore we can say Atma, Sharaha, Iva Sharaha. Jivatma is comparable to the arrow. What type of Jivatma? Upadi Lakshanaha. Jivatma who is characterized by the Upadi Lakshanaha. Lakshanam, it's Napumsakalinga. Lakshanaha, it is Pullinga, like Ramashabdavat. Upadi Lakshanaha. Therefore, it has to be Bahuri Samasa. Anyapada Pradana. Upadihi Lakshanam Yasya Saha Jivaha Jivatma. So Upadihi Lakshanam Yasya Saha. Kasya Jivatmanaha. Therefore, Upadi Lakshanaha is the name for Jivatma. It's an adjective, Visheshanam to Jivatma. Atma. Upadi Lakshanaha Atma. That is Jivatma who is characterized by the Upadi. What Upadi? Kosha Panchakam, Shariratrayam, Stula Sukshma Karana Shariram, Shariratrayam, or Kosha Panchakam. That is Upadi. Therefore, that Upadi is this Shariratrayam, and Upahita is Atma. Atma is Upahita. Upahita Atma. That is the Atma which manifests through the Upadi. The Atma which is manifest through the Upadi, and Upadi is the Lakshanam. Lakshyate anena iti Lakshanam. That which is indicated by the Upadi. Therefore, Upadi Lakshanaha, what is indicated is this Upagita Atma. Atma, which is Upagita Atma is what is indicated by the Upadi. Therefore, Upadi Lakshanaha, Jivatma, that is Atma with Upadi. Jivatma with this Sharira Upadi. And the Sharira Upadi indicates that what this Upagita Atma. So, Upadi Lakshanaha, the Sharira, here the target is not the Shariram, not the Upadi. What is the Upadi? The Upadi is the Upagita Atma is the arrow, not the Upadi. So, therefore, Jiva, when we say Jiva Atma, Jivasya, that Atma, which is what is indicated by the Upadi. So, therefore, Jivatma is likened to the arrow, comparable to the arrow. So, Jivatma is what is obtained in this Upadi. That is the Chaitanyam, Jivatma. The Shuddha Chaitanyam alone is appearing as Jivatma, or it's referred to by the word Jivatma with reference to the Upadi. Upadi is there, therefore Jivatma. Upadi is there, Maya Upadi is there, therefore Paramatma. Minus Upadi, it is Shuddha Chaitanyam. Shuddha Brahma, Paratpararam. It is Brahma eva, Shuddha Brahma eva. Brahma is Shuddha, Shuddham, Sada Shuddham. With regard to Upadhi, it is as though limited, as though conditioned. Like the Gata, the pot, as though it conditions the Akasha. That's why it becomes the space inside the pot becomes pot space. Space is limitless. How can the space be conditioned? It is not really conditioned. It is as though conditioned by the pot. Pot is the Upadhi. And Akasha is the Chaitanyam, Brahma, Chaitanyam. Tadvati eva, the Jiva Upadhi, as though conditions the Upagita Atma, the Shuddha Chaitanyam, therefore, Upadhi Lakshanaha Jivatma. Now, this Paraha eva, Paraha referring to Paramatma, Chaitanyam, that all pervasive, Sarvavyapi, Paramatma eva, Iha, Pravishtaha, Jale Suryadivat, Yata, Suryaha, Jale Pravishtaha, Tadvat, Asmin Upadhau, Asyam Asmin Upadhau, Paraha Pravishtaha, Dehe Pravishtaha. Pashakara gives an example, he explains. Paraha Pravishtaha. You have to analyze the line. See the line. Paraha eva jale surya divat iha pravishtaha. Paraha pravishtaha. Paraha referring to Paramatma. Paramatma pravishtaha. Vishdhatu. Tapratya pravishtaha. Paramatma entered the body. There is a pravesha shruti in Taittiriya. Tadeva nupravishat tadanupravishya tachatyacha bhavat. Paramatma, having created this Jagat, entered into it. Similarly, the Jagat it includes the body also. Having created this Upadhi, Shariram, Paraha, Dehe referring to the body. Dehe means body, the Jivatma, Yashti. Dehe, Pravishtaha, entered. Paraha, Paramatma, Dehe Pravishtaha, entered into the body. Here we have to understand very clearly in the Pravesha Shruti, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is very clearly presented in Bhashyakara. It is not that body is created first and then Paramatma enters into it. It is not like you enter the house, open the door of the main door of the house and you enter. First your house has to be there first. First house has to be there. Griham must be there. First you have to build the Griham. And after you do Griha Pravesha. Is it like that? It is not like that. Griha Pravesha, first Griham is created, and then on auspicious day, you enter the Griham. It is not like here, Paraha, Paramatma, Dehe, Pravishtaha. That Pravesha that is, Paramatma alone has become everything, and he has become the Deha, the Upadhi, and therefore, the Atma, also Atma, the Atma is manifest in the body. So entry is manifestation. Paramatma manifests in this body. And what is this Deha? Deha, if you analyze, it is nothing but Brahma eva. It is made of Pancha, Bhautikam, which can be further traced to Panchabhuta. Panchabhuta can be further traced to Brahma eva. So it is Brahma alone has become the body. And that in that body, the Paramatma has entered. It entered means manifested. Pravishtaha is manifested. Paramatma manifests through this Vyashtik Upadhi, that is Deha, Yatha, Jale Suryadivat, like the Suryaha, Jale, Pravishtaha, like the sun is reflected in the water. A huge sun, which is in the sky. It is seen in the water, in the clean water. There are no ripples. Clean water, the sun is reflected. Now you say sun has entered the jala, water of the lake. Is it real entry? It is manifest. It is reflected. It is reflected in the water of the lake. Yatha, Suryaha jale pravishtaha. That Surya is Pratibimba Surya. It is not the real Surya. How can the real Surya enter into the limited pond? Not possible. So it is a reflection of the sun. That is what Pravishtaha. As the sun is reflected in the clean water of the lake, similarly, this Paramatma, who is Sarva Vyapi, is comparable to Surya as though entered, that is manifest through this limited Shariram Deha. It is compared to Jala. Jale Surya Divat, Dehe Paramatma Pravishtaha, manifest through this body. Therefore, idea here is Paramatma is not conditioned by the Upari. That is, as Jala cannot condition the Surya, similarly, Paramatma cannot be conditioned by the Upadi. The beautiful Drishtanta Bhashyakara gives. Already we are saying Drishtanta of Dhanuhu. One more Drishtanta Bhashyakara says. This is called Pratibimba Vada. Pratibimba Vada. So Jale Suryasya, Yatha Jale Suryasya Pratibimbaha Bhavati, Tadvateva Asmin Dehe Ishwarasya Paramatmanaha Pratibimbaha, Pratibimba Chaitanya. Paramatma alone manifests through this body. Sarva Bhuda Pratyaya Sakshitaya. Sakshi, as the Sakshi Chaitanyam, as a witness consciousness. Sarva Bauddha. Bauddha is not Buddhism. Bauddha is the word, Tadita word derived from the word Buddhi. Buddhehe idam Bauddhaha. Buddhehe idam Bauddhaha, Taditanta word. Nothing to do with Buddha Darshanam. It is Bauddha means Buddhi. Pratyaya means thought. Where the thoughts would be? The thoughts in the mind only. The thoughts of the mind. Which thought? All the thoughts. Sarva Bauddha Pratyaya. All the thoughts of the mind. There are many thoughts coming and going all the time. That is the job of the Antakaranam. Antakaranam, the mind, in which the thoughts keep coming and going. You cannot stop it. You cannot destroy the mind. Somebody has not, I have read somewhere, how to destroy the mind. Mind cannot be destroyed. Because the mind is disturbing me with various thoughts, I want to destroy the mind. The mind is nothing but thoughts. The flow of thoughts is what the mind is. How can you destroy it? If it is destroy, means you have to destroy yourself. You have to kill yourself. Suicide. Mind cannot be destroyed. Mano Nashaha is not possible. It's not. If Mano Nashaha is what is intended, then Bhagavan, why should he create the mind first? Through the mind only, Atma is no. Mind being what it is, let the thoughts come and go. Let it not disturb you. That is what is required. So mind cannot be the cause of disturbance, really, for a person. What really causes disturbance is he has got strong abhimana, association with the thought of the mind. If you understand the thought also as mithya, that is what here he says, sakshitaya, thought comes and goes. You identify with the thought. Why don't you identify with the Sakshi Chaitanyam? The Sakshi, the witness, ever being present, he alone illumines all the thoughts. In the presence of the Sakshi Chaitanyam, that is you, all the thoughts are known to you. Minus this Sakshi Chaitanyam. If Sakshi Chaitanyam is not there, the thoughts cannot be known. Like in Sushupti. In Sushupti, what happens? Of course, in Sushupti, Sakshi is there, but mind is not there. Therefore, it is a Vyatireka Drishtanta, in fact. Sushupti, mind is not there. Sakshi is always there. Sakshi Chaitanyam doesn't have any thoughts in Sushupti to be illumined. Therefore, no disturbance. That is why you say, Maya Sukhena Anubhuyate Nidramiti. I slept very happily. Sukhena Nidra Anubhuyate iti. You say, because you are not bothered about by the thoughts. Why thoughts not there? Why? Because mind becomes dormant. Mind goes into the subtle state. But Sakshi Chaitanya being there, it doesn't have anything to illumine. Therefore only you say, I slept happily. But when moment you get up, thoughts come because mind is awakened. Mind gets up. When you wake up, means mind along with the mind also gets up. Waking up the mind is waking up of you. It's not that you wake up first and mind wakes up later. The mind wakes up, you wake up. Then thoughts coming and going. And these thoughts are now, as it was illumined in the Sushupti Avastha, there was no thought, no thought. That is why Sukham. No thought was illumined by the Sakshi Chaitanyam. As in the Sushupti, in the Jagrata Avastha, thoughts are illumined by the same Sakshi Chaitanyam. So, where is the problem? Is it the problem with the Sakshi Chaitanyam or the problem with the thoughts? Sakshi Chaitanyam is what you is the illuminator. Why you identify the illumined, that is not you. If it is you, then the thought should not go. That thought should stay forever. If it is you, the very fact that comes and goes, it tells that it is not you. It is not permanent. It is not stationary. It cannot. It is not nitya. Therefore, it cannot be you. What is you then? The Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is ever present, which ever witnesses all that comes and goes. That is you, Sakshi Chaitanyam. So therefore, Sarva Bodha Pratyaya Sakshitaya, in the form of the Sakshi Chaitanyam of all the thoughts, Dehe, this Paramatma Parvishtaha, the Sakshi Chaitanyam, Paramatma has entered into the Sharira. It is not really entered, it is reflected. It reflects in the Sharira, manifests in the Shariram. Ishvaraha, Paramatma, otherwise Sakshi Chaitanyam, Asmin Dege, Sarva Bodha Pratyaya Sakshitaya, in the form of witness consciousness, in the form of witnessing all the thoughts, manifests in the Shariram. Thoughts being Mithya, when you have Abhimana with Mithya, you become a samsari. When you can dissociate with the thought, that the thoughts come and go. Let me be as I am, that is Sakshi Chaitanyam. Then there is no disturbance, no samsara. So therefore, Paramatma, who is limitless, who is Purna Chaitanyam, he alone is obtained in this Yashti Chariram, that is Deha, as Sakshi Chaitanyam, and illumines all the thoughts, all the objects. He is there in every transaction. That is what bringing Ishvara. That is, you have to recognize this Ishvara in all your transaction, in all your, whether it's a physical transaction or the transactory world that you live in mentally. So, in all the transaction, whether a transaction with the thoughts, a transaction with the objects, all are possible because of this Sakshi Chaitanyam. Therefore, Atma, which illumines all the thoughts and all the objects, every thought is associated with an object. There is no thought without an object. So the object and the thoughts, the object is illumined by the thought. So every thought every pratyaya has got an object. Pratyaya meaning thought. So every pratyaya has got the corresponding object. When you say an apple, apple is a thought. So apple, the object is there, therefore apple thought. Tree object is there, therefore tree thought. Bird object is there, therefore bird thought. So every thought is associated with a particular object. That is Bauddha Pratyaya. Bauddha Pratyaya. Therefore, as the thought is illumined, when you say the thought is illumined by what? Chaitanya. The thought is illumined means the object of the thought is illumined. Like the light illumines the object, the light, the external light, illumines the object. When the external light illumines the object, the reflection of the object in the mirror also is illumined. Similarly, here also, the Atma illumines all the thoughts, all the objects contained in the thoughts. What happens because of Ajnanam, Bhranti, the Sakshi Atma, which is very clearly distinct, Vilakshanam, distinct from the mind, what happens? It becomes as though Pramata, because of its Abhimana with the mind. Therefore, it becomes as though Pramata. Sakshi Chaitanyam becomes Pramata. Pramata is also Mithya. How can Atma, Shuddha Chaitanyam, which is Sarvavyapi, all witnessing consciousness, how can he be a Pramata? How can be a Karta? How can be a Bhokta? How can be a Ganta? How can be a Shrota? With reference to different Kriya, we say we use different words. We become different person. With regard to eating, it becomes the with regard to eating, eater. With regards to walking, it becomes a walker. With regard to seeing, it becomes seer. With regard to sleeping, it becomes sleeper. Who? The same person. With regard to different kriya, becomes different person, but it is not really different person. It is only the same Sakshi Chaitanyam. Because of his association with the Upadhi, or because of its dissociation, as though dissociation. He cannot dissociate from himself. That is, because of he moves away from what he is. He moves away from what he is. That is Bhranti. In terms of Bhranti, in terms of Ajnanam, he cannot really move away from himself. He identifies with the Upadhi, with the Sharira Upadhi or with the mind, and therefore he becomes Karta, Bhokta, Shrota, Manta, etc. That is what is the problem. That is what samsara is. So, with regard to the mind, he is associated with the thought of the mind so closely, so attached with the thought of the mind. Therefore, he becomes a pramata. He becomes a knower. The knower is the reality of knower is nothing but Atma. Knower minus er. What is that? It's knowledge, pure knowledge. Shuddha Chaitanya Meva. So therefore, the Atma being what it is, the Sakshi Chaitanya being what it is, it loses as though the status of Sakshi when it becomes identified with the mind and that becomes Pramata. The Pramata only knows, he only gains the knowledge of the objects. But Sakshi is what illumines everything. Sakshi Chaitanya knows everything. But this Pramata, it says, I know everything. This I know, that is a problem. Sakshi Chaitanya being knowledge. The knowledge is what illumines everything. Nothing is unknown to Atma. But what this Pramata says, I know. With regard to knowing, I know. With regard to that which is not known, he says, I don't know. So both are there. Both are knowledge only. Both are claimed by knowledge by this limited Pramata. What about Sakshi Chaitanyam? In fact, in the presence of Sakshi Chaitanyam only, this Pramata is what is. So therefore, this Mana Upahita Atma, when Atma is as though endowed with this Upadhi mind. How can Atma have? That's why as though endowed with this Upadhi mind, this Atma is called Pramata. That is, when the Sakshi Chaitanyam gets identified with the mind, he gets the status of being a knower, the Pramata. Similarly, when he identifies himself with, when he has got Abhimana with the Shariram, it becomes Karta. When he has Abhimana with the Vijnanamaya Kosha, he becomes Karta. When he identifies with the Anandamaya Kosha, becomes Bhokta. So Kartrutvam, Bhoktrutvam, all these are identification with the Upadhi. So becomes Karta, becomes Bhokta. The reality of Karta and Bhokta is this Sakshi Chaitanyam. Karta, Bhokta, Pramata is this Sakshi Chaitanyam. That is as though conditioned by Mana Upadhi, Sharira Upadhi. Therefore only it becomes Sukhi, Dukhi. Sometimes Sukhi, sometimes Dukhi. So all this problem arises. Therefore, when we say Paramatma has entered the body, means is manifest in the body. So he is available in this Shariram as Shuddha Chaitanyam, as Sakshi Chaitanyam, in the presence of which only because of Bhranti, the Jiva takes himself to be a Karta, Bhokta, Sukhi, Dukhi, etc. That is what is samsara is. So therefore, Dehe Pravishtaha Paraha Paramatma Sarva Bhuda Pratyaya Sakshitaya Pravishtaha. He has entered into the Shariram, is available in the Shariram. So Pravishtaha is manifest or available. availability is manifesting in the Shariram as Sarva Bhuta Pratyaya Sakshitaya, in the form of the Sakshi Chaitanyam, the form of witness consciousness of all the thoughts corresponding to every object, he manifests in the Shariram. Vita Jale Suryadivat. The next line. Saha Sharaha Yiva
Sahasrara
Svatmanyevarpitaha Akshare Brahmani.
Akshare
Brahmani.
Saha referring to Jivatma. Sharaha, Saha Sharaha Iva, like the arrow. Swatmani Arpitaha. Swatmani Arpitaha. Arpitaha is offered into the Lakshya, which is Akshara Brahma. Akshare Brahmani Arpitaha is offered. The arrow is shot from the bow. So what happens to the arrow? It becomes as though it is offered into the target. So Arpitaha. So Arpitaha Astaha ityartaha. The Sharaha, the Jivatma, is shot into the Lakshya Brahma. Therefore Arpitaha Astaha Stapitaha Swatmani eva. Swatmani Akshara Brahma, which is what? Which is Swatma, which is myself. So Jivatma is offered into Akshara Brahma, the Lakshya, which is not different from himself. That was Swatmani. Vashakara beautifully uses the Swatmani here. Aikyam is showing. Jivatma identifies his Swarupam with Paramatma. Swatmani, Akshare Brahmani, Swatmani. Swatmani Arpitaha, Sharaha, and that Swatmani is Swasyatma, that is Jivatma, that Swarupam of oneself is what? Is this Akshara Brahma. So, Jivatma, that is the arrow, comparable to arrow, which is shot at. The target is Brahma, Paramatma, and hitting the target, arriving at the target by the Vichara, Omkara Vichara. He discovers himself to be that Swatmani Arpitaha. Therefore, Paramatma, which is the target of Jivatma, and the Jivatma discovers himself to be that Swatmani Arpitaha, that is by Omkara Vichara. So, Swatmani is nature, Swarupam of the Jivatma. That is the Akshara Brahma. So, there is no difference between the target and the nature of this Jivatma, which is comparable to Shara. In the case of Drishtanta, target is away, Shara has to reach, travel. But in the case of Dashtanta, the Sharaha, that is Jivatma, hitting the target or arriving at the target being Akshara Brahma, which is Swatma, which is oneself, which is myself. And that is the Lakshyam, Brahma Lakshyam Uchyate. It is the Lakshyam. Ataha Brahmatal Lakshyam Uchyate. Next line.
Ataha Tallakshya Muchyate.
Therefore, only Brahma is Tallaksham Uchyate. Therefore, only Brahma is Tat Lakshyam. Ataha Brahma Tallaksham Uchyate. Therefore, Brahma is called the target Lakshyam. Tallaksham, Tatalakshyam. Tatalakshyam, Tallaksham. Totally Tallaksham Uchyate. Therefore, Paramatma, Brahma, it is the target of the Jivatma. The target is not different from oneself when we say it is only possible in terms of knowledge. So knowing, Jivatma knowing himself to be one with Paramatma, therefore identifies the Aikyam. That was Swatmani Arpitaha iti. Then Lakshya Iva Manaha
Lakshya Iva Manaha
Samadhitsubihi
Samadhi
Atmavavena Lakshyamanattvat.
Atmabhavena
Lakshyamanattvat.
Lakshya Iva Manaha Samadhitsubihi. Samaditsu, Sananta. Samaditsu. Sam and apurvaka upasarga dhadatu. Dudhanj, dharana poshna yoho. Then san pratyaya. San pratyaya is added. Samaditsu, then u. Samaditsu. That is Samaditsu bihi, by the people who are desirous of samadhi. Samadhi is focus, concentration, concentrating what? The mind. Manaha samaditsu bihi, by the people who are desirous of concentrating their mind. Samadhatum ichubihi. Samadhatum ichubihi. Referring to the people who have the desire to focus the mind. Samadhatum. Samyak adhanam samadhanam. Samadhanam means what? Samadhanam is concentration. Not Tamil samadhanam. Samadhanam is samyak adhanam. Placing the mind, establishing the mind, focusing the mind on the target. That is called samadhanam. So samaditsu bihi lakshya iva atma bhavena lakshamanatvat. Brahma, which is being targeted, lakshamanatvat. Brahma, which is a target, lakshamanatvat. Lakshamanatvat atmabhavena lakshyaha iva manaha samaditsu bihi. That is atmabhavena, with reference to the target. Lakshya iva, with reference to the target. Atmabhavena, as oneself. Since Brahma is being targeted at as what? As atmabhavena, as oneself. Lakshya is a Brahma. Lakshya iva. Lakshya is lakshya. It is Sandhi has happened. Lakshya iva manaha. What is the lakshya? Lakshya is Brahma. With reference to the target, which is Brahma, Brahma is what is targeted. By whom? By the people. Samadhatum ichubihi, by the people who have the desire of focusing their mind. By the people who are desirous of focusing the mind. Samadhatum ichubihi atma bhavena. As it happens in the case of the lakshya, therefore Brahma is called lakshya. Lakshamanatvat Brahma lakshya iti uchyate atma bhavena. Because Brahma has a status of being targeted, lakshamanatvat atma bhavena, as oneself. Therefore Brahma is comparable to lakshya. We have seen how Dhanuhu, how this Omkara is comparable to Dhanuhu, how this Atma is comparable to Shara. Here Bhashakara says, how this Lakshya, how this Aksharam is comparable to Lakshya. Lakshamanatvat, because of being targeted, Lakshamanatvat, Atma Bhavena, as oneself, that Brahma, for which Samadhatu Michubihi. By whom? By the people who have the desire to focus their mind. Therefore, Brahma is Lakshyam. Brahma is a target. Lakshamanatvat Lakshyam iti uchyate. Brahma, since Brahma is what is targeted by the Samadhatam ichubihi, Brahma is what is targeted by these people. There as what? As Atma Bhavena, as oneself. Therefore, Brahma is Lakshya. Akshare lakshye brahmani iti. So the target is Brahma, and that Brahma is Atma Bhavena. It is myself. It is myself. Therefore, the target is comparable to Brahma. Since it is what is intended, is what desired by the people, and they do samadhanam, chitta samadhanam. Therefore, lakshamanatvat lakshye iva manaha samaditsubi. Why Brahma is called the target? Because as the arrow is a target, similarly Brahma is what is targeted by the people. Samadhatam ichubihi, by the people. Therefore it is comparable. Therefore Brahma is comparable to the lakshya. And what these people do, they focus their mind on the lakshya and as though become one with the lakshya. It is already one. That's why as though I am saying, become one with the lakshya. Therefore, Brahma is called a Lakshyam. Since it is as in the case of Drishtanta, arrow, it becomes one the target. Similarly, in the Dashtanta, the Samadhatam Ichubhihi by those people, Atmavavena, they hit the target, they arrive at the target being Brahma. Therefore, Brahma is comparable to the target. That is the meaning. Lakshye iva manaha, manaha samadhatam. Manaha is manaha samadhitsubhihi. Manaha is Dvitiya Vibhakti. Manaha samadhitsubhihi atmavavena lakshamanatvat. Lakshamanatvat is a hetu. Because of that being targeted, as what? As myself, as oneself, atmabhavena, lakshya iva, lakshya in the target, by whom the karta is samadhitsubhihi, by the people. Tritiya vibhakti, samadhitsu. Samadhitsu is the pratipadikam. Like jignasu, mumukshu. Similarly, samadhitsu, guru shabdavatu, guru guravaha, then guruna gurubhyam gurubihi, samadhitsubihi. So that is kartari tritiya. It is tritiya vibhakti, the karta. So denotes the karta. So by the karta, that is sadhakas, the adhikari, the mumukshu, the jignasus, that's called samadhitsubihi, atmabhavena laksham ahatvat, brahma lakshyam, tal laksham iti uchyate iti. We'll stop here. We'll continue the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरु
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Dhanyavadaha.
धन्यवाद कृष्ण
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಕೃಷ್ಣ.
धन्यवाद
Dhanyavadaha.